The Auburn Tigers appear to be in it for a dude who could be a diamond in the rough.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up on this Friday with Montgomery radio legend, the Darrell Dapprich. The transfer portal is closed. You can't jump in there anymore, but the folks who are in there can still pick their team. We'll talk about the basketball side of the portal later in the show. We'll talk about linebacker and how Auburn may be the favorite to get another one. But Javen Cole, or as he goes by on Twitter, Javen Boog Cole, which I think is very important. Yes. I think it's very important. Perfect for Auburn there. But it seems like he's taking an official visit to Auburn next week on Tuesday. He is going to Texas. He's there now. He's there this weekend. But, Darrell, this is a guy who started his college career at Cal Poly, transfers to San Jose State University last year, and all the dude has done is get interceptions and make plays. This guy's ascent is noteworthy, and the fact that Auburn could be the next destination of his ascent, I think it's worthy of conversation today.
Yeah, very interesting. First of all, for those wondering, no, he was not in Jordan-Hare in 2022 when San Jose State came and played Brian Harsin. So he was at Cal Poly, like you correctly said, but I know that there's been some people that were wondering that. His name first appeared on the radar for me on social media, seeing him on X retweet a ton of stuff that had to do with University of Arizona, and the University of Arizona Wildcat Authority creator, content creator, kind of felt like, we felt like this was a guy to keep an eye on, or he felt like it was a guy because of Coach Brennan being in Arizona. Why that matters is because it gave us a little bit of a pipeline to kind of get some insight as to what this kid's skill set is and how he's perceived. And so, now I thought, again, he was retweeting everything that had to do with Arizona, and would he follow his coach? Well, now all of a sudden, boom, his offer list explodes, and he starts getting offers from Tennessee, Texas, Auburn. So, it was mentioned to me that Brennan had said that he was the best defensive back he's coached, and that was he's only had him 1 year. I don't know if that was an off the record conversation that Brennan had with somebody, but I don't know.
Out there now,
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe behind closed doors that he said that, but he was very high on him.
Yeah, and he's played a lot. Last year at San Jose State, he played 876 total snaps, 627 of those outside corner. Only played 6 in the slot, and then he played 61 snaps in the box, which I assume was kind of like a nickel type role where they probably scooted him close to the line of scrimmage, and PFF counted that as in the box. He also played a ton on special teams as well, and it wasn't just like kick return and punt return, but it was field goal block, kickoffs, punt coverage. I mean, he's done it all. This guy is a football player. He's a football player. And so we mentioned that he played 1 year at Cal Poly. He played last year at San Jose State. So that means he's got 2 years left of eligibility. And what have we said consistently on the show throughout the week is Auburn needs juniors. Auburn needs guys that can play this year, maybe be a depth piece, which I think he would be an outstanding depth piece. And then with the potential to be a starter the following year, or at least compete with some of the young guys that Auburn currently has on this roster. I think this guy's worthy of it. I think he's worthy of it. So he enters the portal, Darrell, and then you start to see he gets offers from I think it was Miami of Ohio, Houston, Cincinnati. So, okay, all right. And then he posts the official visit to Auburn. It's like, okay, Michigan State was in there too. It's like, okay, Auburn's the best program that's offered him so far.
Yeah.
And then the Texas news comes out that he's taking the official to Texas. He gets offered by Tennessee. And it's like, okay, this guy is gaining steam. And now that the portal's closed, like if you're in the portal, like this is what you got to pick from. If you need a corner, this is what you've got to pick from. This guy's emerged to be one of the more coveted corners in the portal at this point of the process. And Auburn's in on it.
The concern is Auburn's greatest strength could be its greatest weakness in getting somebody like this, being a victim of their own success in this position group. So it's the old age, the old question, does he want to come somewhere where he's going to be immediately start at the outside corner position?
Right.
Or do you want to come somewhere and get into too deep and maybe be the starter next year? Because of Auburn's room being so good, it could be a disadvantage to getting somebody like him.
Maybe. I am going to push back a little bit on that because I think the main schools that Auburn's going to be competing with are Texas, because he's literally there now on an official visit, and then Tennessee, because as we record this, it's the most recent of his tweets that he seems excited that Tennessee offered, and I don't blame him for that. But at this point of the process of the offseason, your team is pretty much put together. Like, your roster is pretty much set. You've been through spring. You now know who has left you, and you've got to do little repairs on the roster because I'm sure, like, Auburn loses Coy Moore in the last second, the final hours of the portal. Like, I'm sure that happened in different spots throughout all of college football. But for the most part, I can't imagine a school like Texas or a school like Tennessee not having their cornerback situation taken care of, at least starting. And I just think Texas and Tennessee are going to offer a similar thing. I think it's going to be a healthy NIL package compared to these other schools that have offered them. And I think it's going to be a situation where it's like, yeah, you can come and compete to be the second or third guy. But for the most part, like, you're going to be a depth piece. And we can't wait to see what you turn into over the course of your 2 years here.
I hope you're right. I hope that is the scenario. I would counter that with saying, what if, first of all, do we know that Tennessee and Texas's defensive back room currently is as good as Auburn's? I don't know if we know that or not. I know that one dude left and that we got in Jerry Thompson, and another guy, Brooks, I think, entered the portal from Texas a week ago.
I think it's like a former 5-star guy.
So is that showing that there's an immediate need there? The second question I would ask is Tennessee and Texas's defensive back rooms respectively similar to what Auburn's defensive line and wide receiver rooms looked like a week ago, where although we felt like, or other schools may feel like, oh, the rosters are set, we knew Auburn desperately needed defensive linemen and desperately needed another receiver. What if Tennessee and Texas are in that mode, but from a defensive back standpoint?
They could be. They certainly could be. Both those schools just recruit so well. I can't imagine they're in that situation, but they could be. They certainly could be. But regardless, this is a guy that Auburn wants, and the accolades, I think, speak for themselves. I mean, this guy has done nothing but just be effective when he was there. In Cal Poly, his freshman year, he played 11 games, and he led Cal Poly as a freshman with 4 picks. Can you imagine a freshman leading, like, your team's defense and interceptions? Like, the hype around that guy. He enters the portal because, honestly, this guy's better than Cal Poly. So he goes to San Jose State. He has 10 breakups and 3 interceptions, and his 10 pass breakups were second in the Mountain West Conference last year. I mean, this is a guy that, compared to his competition at every point of his career, at least in college, he's been exceptional. And so I think the only natural thing, and this is what I love about the transfer portal, I think this is like what the transfer portal's intent was in the purest form, was you dominate a lower level, you move up, and you eventually capitalize and get the best situation for yourself. That's what's happening here. And if Cole picks Auburn or Texas or Tennessee or whoever it is, like, he's in a better situation, I hope, than what he was when he was at San Jose State. So he's very productive. And I think that speaks for himself. He was San Jose State's highest rated defender according to PFF last year, which, as a corner, that's not the easiest thing to do. So, I mean, this guy's a player. It's just, can he do it in the SEC? If he were to pick any of those 3 schools, that's where he's going to be headed. Possibly. And I'm sure that's part of why he's kind of looking at the schools that he is.
Full disclosure, I think I'd feel really, really good about it if Auburn was competing with Miami of Ohio, Houston, Cincinnati, and even Michigan State. If it was just those 4.
Sure, yeah.
When Tennessee and Texas got into the mix, and that's when I had an opportunity to speak with Jason Shear from Wildcat Authority, he was a little bit surprised that that Auburn and Texas and Tennessee, it was kind of out of nowhere out of the blue that this happened. And so that's what's interesting. And his recruiting has been very, very quiet and locked down, is what I've heard, as far as just not any information coming out of his camp as to where he could be leaning, other than where he's announcing where he's going, as far as visits.
Yeah. So that's going to be it's going to be a big one to follow. Javen Cole, or as he says, he names himself on Twitter, Javen Boog Cole. Maybe that's just, I just think
that's destiny, right?
I think so.
Like destiny.
I think so. Yeah. So we'll see. Let us know what you guys think. Does Auburn need another corner via the portal? Let us know in the comments down below. Auburn seems in a good spot of adding another linebacker. Is it the right move? We discuss in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Darrell, can you imagine ordering a car part anywhere else?
No, I cannot. I love the variety. I mean, you how simple is it to type something in, year, make, model, VIN, throw a VIN number in there, need the part, and then my goodness, it's, if you're a do-it-yourself person, comes to your house, take care of business.
No question about it. And look with YouTube now. I mean, somebody's done it. Somebody's installed it to your exact car too. So that's been helpful too. But seriously, you talk about the variety. Over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home that huge win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. We are japping it up on the Friday edition of Locked On Auburn. It sounds like the visit with former South Alabama linebacker, and went very well, Khil Jacobs. We've talked about him a ton on Locked On Auburn the last several days. Standout linebacker at South Alabama. He's visiting Auburn. He's visiting Alabama, and he's visiting Missouri. Sounds like Auburn blew him away. There's quotes out there that Auburn showed him more than he was expecting. It sounds like they absolutely rocked and nailed the visit. You and I have talked and heard from folks from within the program. They feel good. Auburn feels good about where they're at. Their narrative outside of this is Alabama is the favorite because of his former head coach, Womack, is now the defensive coordinator, one of the several defensive coordinators at Alabama. I don't think that's true anymore. I think this is between Auburn and Missouri.
Yeah.
And I think Auburn's the favorite right now.
There seems to be this automatic, we just talked about it with the Cole situation, this automatic assumption that you're going to go follow your head coach. It happens a lot.
Sure.
But sometimes you may want to get away from your former head coach. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that. It's just throwing that out there. We never know the circumstances. So just to assume that, it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
Sure. Right.
I'm hearing the same thing. It's between Auburn and Missouri, and then his trip went really, really well. And let's just say what it'll come down to. It probably will come down to an NIL situation, or, again, hate to beat a dead horse, what does Missouri have an inside linebacker right now? What's their depth chart look like? What's their portal look like that people jumped in, their graduation? Is he going to unseat? Is he going to unseat Asante or Austin Keys?
No.
Or is he going to come in here and not be a starter?
Exactly.
So if Missouri can offer him a starting role and the NIL money that comes with that, people don't need to panic and get wringing their hands and someone got put in a locker. It's just a joke. It's all about opportunity, and it's all about the NIL package. And you're able to offer more to somebody that you think is going to come in and start. That's why Auburn got Smith, the wide receiver from Penn State.
Yeah,
so
Lambert Smith.
That'll be a KLS, baby. So that'll really tell the tale to me. I'm not saying that, or one of those dudes that's arrogant enough to think that every time that Auburn loses a commit, it's, Auburn didn't want him. Or in this scenario, though, the linebacking core is set. So are you going to come in here and
the starting linebacking core?
Correct. Sorry.
Yeah.
Are you going to come in here and compete for the two deep and unseat Woodyard and Mausi and guys like that? That's what you have to do. Guys that played in the spring. Is he talented enough? Absolutely. Do you recruit over your current positions and try to upgrade? Absolutely. The interesting thing is, if that happens, portal's closed.
Mm-hmm.
Linebackers that are here ain't going anywhere if that happens. That's why that whole you can jump in the portal, but wait a month before you decide where you're going to go really can benefit certain teams with depth because guys can't jump in the portal when they feel like they're getting replaced after that happens.
Yeah, he also talked about it sounds like the staff is recruiting him to play like a little bit of, I don't know if it'd be in a dime situation or if he would be at the actual star/nickel spot, but they see him as versatile. They see him as kind of being able to be rangy enough to cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield potentially. And that could be a situation where maybe you're the fourth linebacker and the third nickel like this year. And then we kind of see where everything falls from a roster standpoint the following season. So once again, Auburn needs juniors. They need guys with 2 years left of eligibility. And Khil Jacobs falls into that category. And I think you're almost seeing the staff retroactively recruit because the potato famine wiped out that entire class. I mean, it's just a fact.
It was worse than it was in Ireland. I'll tell you this, it really was. I've done some research on that, and it was.
I'm sure you have.
People in Ireland are reading about this famine going, poor guys, poor Auburn people. We
like,
thought
no
we had
juniors?
it rough. Yeah,
no juniors.
They're like, we thought we had it rough over in Ireland. But here's the other thing, too, is that if I'm a coach and I'm a linebacker coach or I'm DJ Durkin, I sit the kid down and I say, look, I'm going to be very transparent and very honest with you. Let's look at amount of plays and reps that our linebackers got last year. Let's look at injuries. Do you really think, you look the kid in the face and say, you're a smart young man. You're about to get a college degree. Do you really think that we're going to go through the season unscathed without an injury? No, you're going to get a lot of playing time because injuries happen. That's how you do it. That's how you sell it.
Yeah. Especially at linebacker. That's a physical position. And it seems like Auburn's had a linebacker get hurt every year the last 5 years or so. Even last year, like Austin Keys wasn't a major injury, thank goodness, but played with a club, right? Like, is
exactly.
And he missed some really important reps at the start of the year. So,
and I'm going to tell you this much too, real quick. I think Auburn would have liked to have given Eugene Asante more plays off and more blows than he got. He had to stay out there probably more than they wanted out of necessity.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Big week for Auburn basketball as they finish out the roster. We bring that up next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here because we're talking Monopoly Go. And I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about Monopoly Go. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. If you could play Monopoly, Darrell, anywhere, where would you play it? Where would you play it right now? Just anywhere. You can pick anywhere in the world.
I would just like to play it on the go amongst my friends mobily. If I'm out of town, play it that way.
Well, do I have the app for you? Monopoly Go, you can compete against your friends. You also can mess with each other and take stuff from each other and talk smack with all of their hilarious emojis that you can unlock. So there's always a bunch of stuff going on. Monopoly Go. It's different every time you open the app. There's always timed events to help you win big. And there's always fun stuff to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it for free on Google Play or the App Store. Monopoly Go, game on. Darrell, when you look at the final pieces that begin to come together for the Auburn basketball roster, because there's been a lot of moving parts here, and some of those moving parts involve retaining the guys from a season ago. Janai Broome, Dylan Cardwell. Sounds like there was some potential chatter with Chad Baker-Mazara. You're bringing all those guys back. Denver Jones is coming back. You got your point guard that you feel really, really good about with Pegues coming in. What's the next step in your mind? Because it seems like Miles, the point guard from High Point, sounds like he's visiting Oklahoma, and so that's going to take a minute. In your mind, what's the next step? What are you looking at right now?
You've got a plan B and a plan C from a point guard position standpoint. I think Miles was your plan A. If something was to happen, I still think he comes to Auburn. Then I think you go to the JUCO ranks and maybe to go get somebody because you're looking for a backup point guard. That's what you're looking for. And then you're looking for another position, a hybrid, a 4 or a 5. And the kid that just jumped in the portal from Samford, Aker, 16 points a game, 7 rebounds. He's a junior, 6'9", could play the 5 or the 4. He's listed as a power forward, but he could play the 5 if you needed to slide Broom to the 4 and let him and Cardwell share minutes. I think those are the kind of, there's a kid from San Diego State that's only a sophomore that Auburn's looking at, SMU as well. So there's some names out there that Auburn that they need. I think they have 2 spots, and I think they need to fill them. It's that simple. But they're not looking for a starter. That's already been established when they went out. The interesting thing about Auburn's portal needs this year is they were looking for 1 starter and 1 starter only. That's a wonderful problem.
And they got him.
They got him.
And of course, Broom that's assuming if you don't count like Janai Broom. But I think it's important that we do count Janai Broom because like retaining him was the biggest portal win that you possibly could have. It just doesn't feel like a portal win because he didn't come from the portal this year.
Now, the only question mark I still have is Chaney Johnson the dude? I happen to think that he's going to have a significant uptick in performance.
Ask that question a different way. Is he the dude? Like where? Like what do you mean by that?
Is he the guy that's going to be your the starter at the 4 position, give you 25 minutes a game, give you double points, 10, 11 points a game and 6 or 7 rebounds to make up for some of the loss of Jay Will? Is he going to be that? When I'm talking about the dude, that's a great point you make. He doesn't have to be but one of 5. I mean, there are 3 or 4 guys that Auburn will count on to give significant scoring minutes more than him. But can he hold down the 4 position and contribute offensively greater than he did last year and get the rebound? We already know he can play elite defense. Dude can flat out guard. Well, can he get you 10 points, 6 rebounds a game? If he can, your roster becomes completely balanced.
He definitely got better over the course of the season and got more comfortable. And there'd be moments where you saw the flashes and it's like, okay, we all knew you were athletic. Can you be productive on the floor? And we saw moments down the stretch there where it's like, yes, there it is. Where are you with Janai playing the 4 since Dylan and Janai comes back? Does it depend on what else they do in the portal?
Yes.
In your mind? Okay. Got it.
Because if you go get a kid that can play the 4 or the 5, and you can upgrade 2 positions at once, meaning you're not going to upgrade over Broom. Broom's your best 5. But we've always talked about this, Zach. You get 1 player that makes 2 positions better.
Sure.
You could do that. You go get a guy that can play the 5 like Aker and put him at the 5 and put Broom at the 4. You've just upgraded. I mean, now Aker's not better than Broom, but he's the same size. What it does is it strengthens your whole lineup, your starting 5. Then you have coming off the bench, maybe Duke Miles, Pettiford, Ja'Kai Howard, and Chaney Johnson, and Dylan Cardwell. Off the bench. That is insane. And you play 10 dudes, not 12. You shorten the bench a little bit. And you give those guys at least 25, 26 minutes, and you just roll with it, and you play 10, and you could still beat people with depth. That's what I'm talking about with how you could configure your bench. So you start
if that
playing
happens, Darrell, how many minutes a game does Chris Moore play?
8 to 10.
Really?
Yeah, because he's your backup 3 behind Chad Baker-Mazara.
Okay.
You'll give him more minutes than Ja'Kai Howard. Even though the kid's dynamic and he's a high flyer, he's a freshman and Moore's a 5th-year senior, and you trust him to do what needs to be done.
I don't like him basketball. At the 3. I mean, I think you need
Moore?
him at the 4. I think you put him at the 4.
He's a little undersized at the 4 for me, but that's okay. I mean, you just but you put him at the 3 and then maybe
from
go
a scoring
big.
Standpoint.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I want my 3 to be able to score a little bit more, but
can Ja'Kai Howard, who's a freshman, who's a backup, to do that? We don't know. He's untested.
Yeah, it's a good
He's
point.
untested. Now, could you do this? Yes, you could go a 3-guard lineup. I know that they're talking about doing that where Pettiford, Pegues, and Denver Jones are all out there at the same time. And that's a perimeter nightmare for teams to try to guard. You can go a 3-guard lineup, go a little smaller. Better ball
That'd be
handling.
a lot. That'd be a lot to take in if you're defending that.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot. No question about it. Talk about getting like ISO situations for Janai too. If Janai's on the floor with that just opens up so much.
Because what does he do so very well, Zach, when he gets the ball sometimes in the post if he gets doubled? He is so good at making passes. And if you got 3 options that are 3 legit elite scorers in Pegues, Jones, and Pettiford, if Pettiford's what we think he can be as far as a scoring threat, you
take it. Yep,
you take it. But I still think they're a roster spot away or 2 from creating that kind of mismatch and that kind of roster versatility.
Yeah, they're close. I mean, Bruce Pearl is very close to being able to say, all right, I did it again. I navigated the portal with excellence. So we'll see if he pulls it off. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Check me out Wednesdays and Fridays, Locked On Auburn with my friend Zach, and then also my written work on Auburn Daily, and sometimes Tuesday afternoons on The Drive, and Monday mornings with Ben Taylor on WANI. I've been doing some appearances there as well.
Sweet. Yeah, be sure to like the video. Please subscribe. We'll be back on Monday. This has been Locked On Auburn.